The Automatons update has finally been released for space engineers, and it includes a whole host of new features and blocks for us to enjoy. So let's take a look at everything they've added, and there'll also be a few surprises that we'll find along the way. Like the Most Wanted update, a world showing off all of the new blocks has been released on the Steam Workshop and on Mod.io, which of course I will link in the description below. There's also a big secret hidden on this map, which we will cover at the end of the video, so make sure you watch all the way to the end to see that. 5 new AI blocks have been added in this update. These are the AI Flight Move, which controls your thrusters and can be used to configure how your drones use them. The AI Basic Task, which lets you set tasks for your drone, such as go to a waypoint and follow a ship. The AI Recorder Task, not something I've personally messed around with yet, but it allows you to record a sequence of actions and then repeat them on demand. For example, you can use this to record a docking sequence for your drones. The AI Defensive Combat, which allows for the configuration of defensive actions for your drones. And finally, the AI Offensive Combat, which allows for configuration of offensive actions for your drones. There's also the Event Controller, which isn't an AI block specifically, but it is used for the automation of tasks. The Event Controller can detect when criteria is met and will then trigger an action. You can see that it has a whole host of things it can detect in this list here, and an example of its use could be, if hydrogen tank is low, turn off hydrogen engine. Or another example, if enjoying this video, like and subscribe to this channel. The possibilities are endless. I made a video during the beta for Automatons where I went in depth with how each of the AI blocks and the event controller work, so you can check that video out if you want more information on them. And of course, I'll be doing videos in the future where I cover them in more depth as well, so as I said earlier, subscribe if you want to see that. I should also mention the developers have said this isn't the end of AI, and they're looking to add more AI blocks and features in the future. This update also includes 2x2 wheels, which are obviously a size between the 1x1 wheels and the 3x3 wheels. 2x2 wheels are roughly the size of real-life car wheels, so these will make it much easier to build nice-looking vehicles with them. And if you have the Wasteland DLC, there's 2x2 variants of those wheels for you to use as well. A full block variant of the air vent has been added in this update, which is something I know lots of people have been requesting for a while. It's available for both small and large grid, and has conveyor access on all of its faces unlike the original air vent, so it'll make it much easier to embed inside your walls. However, this isn't the only new air vent variant, as you'll see later in the video. Willis ducts are a new set of blocks that can be used to create new access ways around your ships and bases. There are 7 different variants of them to create different connections, and there's also a grate you can place over them to block off one of the entrances to the duct. You have to crouch to get through them regardless of orientation, unless of course you want to create a vertical drop for quick movement around your base, or just a trash chute into space. 2 new armor panels have been added, called the Armor Center Panel and the Armored Centered Half Panel, and there are light and heavy armor variants of both of these. We've seen these used to make things like spoilers on the teasers we were shown leading up to this update, so I'm sure the community will find lots of interesting uses for them. 3 new conveyor caps have been added, and these can be used to cover up those pesky conveyor ports that litter your builds. Place one of these down and bam, no one will even know it was there. As I said, there's 3 different variants of these, one for the larger conveyor port, one for the smaller small grid conveyor port, and if you own the Heavy Industry DLC, there's a circular one for your conveyor pipes that are available in that DLC. What was previously called the ejector on small grids has now been changed into the small connector. It does everything a normal connector does, just on a smaller scale. This is a huge change, as previously small grids only had a massive 3x3 connector to use on them, which made it impossible to use on more compact builds. I'm definitely going to use this one going forward. There's a secret addition in this update that isn't listed anywhere online, but I'm sure some of you eagle-eyed engineers have spotted it. Meet our new friend, the Sabroid plushie. Just like the engineer plushie added in Most Wanted. I'm presuming this little guy can only be built by either purchasing a Sabroid plushie from a trader or from an unknown signal, so keep a lookout for one of these. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming weeks real life versions of these go on sale, so when that happens I'll be sure to let you guys know. Before we cover the rest of the blocks that are available, I will quickly go over some of the free changes this update also brings. The custom turret controller now has a sun tracking option, meaning you no longer need a script to build your solar tracking arrays, something that is especially important for players on consoles that don't have access to scripts. Weapon names have been changed, which is something I am personally taking credit for, as I'm the only person I know that complained about this. They are now including the type of weapon they are in the name of the weapon, making it easier to search for them. For example, pistols now include the word pistol in the name, rifles now include the word rifle in theirs, and rocket launchers now include the word rocket launcher in theirs. Speaking of rockets, all references to missiles have now been removed from the game, and all weapons that use rockets now include rocket in their name, for example rocket turret, rocket launcher, etc etc. Forget and Copy Target have been removed from the game and replaced with Focus Lock Target, which when pressed will make all the weapons in that group shoot at your currently locked target. Previously, if you didn't press Forget Target after you were done shooting at a grid, your weapons wouldn't target anything new. However, in this new system, once you remove your target lock or it is lost due to the grid going too far away or being destroyed, your weapons will now go back to their default targeting, meaning they'll shoot whatever comes into range. This is something that tripped me up many times during my recent playthrough of Frostbite, so I'm glad to see that this has been changed. The lead indicator will now be greyed out when your currently equipped weapon is out of range, and it will also say weapon out of range underneath it. A very useful quality of life addition to the game, as previously you'd have to be keeping an eye on the number at the bottom to see whether or not you're in range. Keeping in the theme of combat improvements, the target lock's maximum range has been increased to 2,500 meters, which is 500 meters more than before. This makes sense as railguns' maximum range are 2,000 meters, so even though you could still hit at 2,000 meters, you would lose target lock at that range. Cycle subsystem on the toolbar now shows the name of the current subsystem you're targeting. I'll be honest, I've never used this, but another quality of life update for combat is more than welcome. And the final combat improvement is that there's now a new overlay for manually controlling turrets. It looks very Star Trek-y or Mass Effect-y, doesn't it? This is definitely a much cleaner overlay than the old one, as the old one had blue lines all over the screen which obscured your vision, and the targeting reticle was a big red circle, which made it difficult to actually see what was behind the big red circle. This new one is definitely an improvement, although I do feel it's a little bit busy, but we'll have to wait and see how we feel about it. I've not been able to find a full list of patch notes for this update, so these are the only major changes I'm aware of. However, if I do find more, I'll be sure to let you guys know. The Automatons DLC has released alongside the update, and it includes a variety of interesting new blocks for us to use. The pipe works on 2 cosmetic blocks with pipes on them. They are large grid only, and they exist to look nice and decorate your builds with. As I said earlier, we have another air vent variant, that being the air vent fan. The air vent fan is functionally identical to the base game air vent, having a full block and a half block variant, and being available for both small and large grid. Additionally, when it's powered, the fan inside the air vent will spin, as you can see here. One of my favourite blocks in the DLC is the saddle cockpit. These are the bike cockpits that they've been teasing for a long time now. There are 2 variants of these, one that is 2 blocks wide and one that is 3 blocks wide with a conveyor in the middle, and this will allow you to use the saddle cockpit on grids that are both odd widths and even widths. There are 8 interactive access panels included in the DLC, 4 for large grid and 4 for small grid. 2 of the large grid ones are functional, one of them has a control panel inside, and one of them includes a very pressable big red button inside. Like I said, this button is very pressable. I'm almost drawn into pressing it, just like you are currently being drawn in to press the like button and the subscribe button below this video. One of the large grid access panels I previously mistook for a conveyor cap, but while serving a similar purpose to the conveyor cap, it's not grouped in with them. As you can see here, you can place it over a conveyor port, and then you can open the doors of it to access the port behind. And there's also a version of this for small grid as well. The last large grid access panel and the remaining small grid access panels aren't functional, they just include cosmetic cabling behind the doors. Let's do a quick fire round of cosmetic variants of base game blocks. The Automaton's sensor, the Automaton's timer, and the Automaton's programmable block are all functionally exactly the same as their base game counterparts, except they just look way cooler. All of them have large and small grid variants as well, and I personally can't decide if I like the programmable block or the timer block more. On one hand, the programmable block does look really cool with the servo racks down the side, but each of the different faces of the timer block has a different design to detail your ships with. I tell you what, I know what to do. Why don't I let you guys to decide for me, and let me know which of these 2 blocks you prefer with a comment below. The top-mounted camera is a cosmetic variant of the base game camera. Unlike the other variants of base game blocks that are added in this DLC, it is available for both small and large grid. As the base game camera can only be placed on flat planes, this gives you a new way to place your cameras on your future builds. Here you can see that I have the new robot helmet skin equipped, which is included with the DLC, and it looks really cool and I'll definitely be using this one for a while. And, speaking of new skins, the plastic armor is a new armor texture that is also included alongside the DLC. It has a very clean and uniform look, so maybe it could be used for your new mass-produced drones I know that all of you are building. Warning signs are new cosmetic blocks that can be used to detail your builds without the need to use LCDs. There are 13 of these for both small and large grid, and I will say that this one is my favourite, especially as it has Clang spelt the correct way. The inset light is a full block with a light embedded into it. Like all lights, you can configure its colour and other settings at a terminal. There are 2 new cosmetic blocks called the Angled Interior Wall A and B. These are large grid only blocks that go with the rest of your cosmetic corridor and wall blocks we've been receiving to allow you to add extra detail to your builds. And finally, we have the best new block in this DLC that none of us saw coming, the Emotion Controller. Available for both large and small grids, this allows your drones to display a variety of emotions on it. You can see here on the drone that Keen have effectively called Susbot, available on the workshop, the emotion controller is being controlled by sensors that make the face look left or right depending on which side of it I am, and then when I'm in front of it, and its weapons, it switches to an evil face. I can see lots of potential for this, from emoting AI drones to making your base emote depending on its current situation, and also, maybe, you guys can use this to finally build yourself a girlfriend. This is by far my favourite and most interesting block included in the DLC, but that does raise the question, what is your favourite new block or feature included in this update and DLC? Let me know with a comment below. And I'll be doing many more videos about this update and Space Engineers, so make sure that you like and subscribe to see those. But there is one more thing we need to look at before the end of the video. There is a hidden secret in the demo world released by Keen that is very interesting. On the moon near the base, there is this. This appears to be some sort of shrine with a monolith in the middle of it. Now, this is the one we've translated. You can see that it's a great race has lived on this planet, now they live in the stars. But why is this here? What does this mean? Keen, please help us. It's been 2 months since I made my video, and we still haven't solved the stereolith yet. So is this some sort of sign? Are you taunting us? Please, I don't understand. A special thanks to The Wildcat, Splurgeburger, please don't get me demonetized, QWERTY the Pro Gregor, Athaki, Summit, Tarantula Fudge, Pascal, Roland Red Sky, and Death Valley Dave. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by clicking the links in the description to become a member or Patreon, or you can like this video and subscribe to this channel for more Space Engineers content.